I'm Eva Irene Adams O'Brien. Well, it's a Southern thing to be named for your grandparents, and so Eva is my father's mother and Irene is my mother's mother. I was born in Florence, South Carolina, but grew up in Darlington, South Carolina during the height of integration. I was supposed to go to a 100% minority school, and they put the word out to people that grew up in that community and said that if a white person came in, they would strip them down and not allow them in the school. And so my parents ended up sending me to a private school in Florence because Darlington did not have one. Growing up in Darlington was just like any little small southern town. If you didn't know what was going on, all you had to do was ask someone and they could tell you what was going on with your life. Now mine was a little different than most in that I grew up just like steel magnolias. I would be Shelby and my mother would be Truvy because she had the local beauty shops in town. And so it was always non-stop. And I had 80s hair. It was this big, platinum white, just huge hair. And I could never leave home that my hair was not absolutely perfect. Well, as a child, I wanted to be a hairdresser, like my mother. And my mother said there was no way that I was doing that. I was going to do better than she did. And that included in education. So she made sure that I was the first and only on her side of the family to go to college and to graduate. So Mama did not want me to be a hairdresser at all. So I really wanted to be a basketball coach. That was one of my true passions. I love it. But my mother told me that there was a stigma attached to being a woman's basketball coach or player. And so I did not get a scholarship to college. I turned that down. And I did not pursue my dream of being a coach because I didn't want to be that woman. I did not have enough self-esteem or self-confidence to realize past what my parents told me. And my mother had meant no harm, none. But I think I would have been a phenomenal basketball coach. My temper, I would have really had to learn to control that quite often because, you know, I am competitive to the hilt. And I play to win no matter what I do. I play to win. Got to win more than you lose. That's my mantra in life. Win more than you lose. You got to have a W column. I thought then I would become a speech and language pathologist. Well, I love to have a good time. So when I went to Columbia College, I had too much fun, and the speech and language program said, Miss Adams, we think you might better find another profession. So consequently, I ended up in education. And so 13 plus years in education. Okay, I know you don't see any fine lines and wrinkles. That's because if I hadn't stayed home for 14 years raising my daughter and my son, I would be retired. I have 20 years in. I'm in developmental education at Midlands Technical College, and that has impacted me in a way that I never saw coming. The Lord had a bigger plan for me, and I have no idea in my life what I've done for Him to bless me the way He has, but I have truly been blessed. But at Midlands Technical College, it is very challenging because I teach reading and writing to students who come in. Some people really only still read on a third grade level and comprehend on a first grade level. And then I have students that don't even know how to write a complete sentence. And it's very difficult to try to get them to write an essay. It's very challenging, but I try to make it fun. I try to be very approachable. On ratemyprofessor.com, it says I'm moody, and I'm moody just because I have to deal with so many of them. But most of the time I'm not moody. I try to be fun and play music and have a good time. So it's impacted me in a way that I never thought because I've been able to present and attend conferences and go and do things that probably I wouldn't do because it's pretty expensive. So we're lucky that the foundation appropriates funds for us for professional development. And the textbook companies are really good. They love to pick our brains, and so we get to go and sit on focus groups and just have a grand time and meet people from all over the country. One summer I attended the Kellogg Institute at Appalachian State University to become a developmental education specialist, and I made friends with someone from every state in the United States. My freshman year, I told my mother, I want to leave. I don't like Columbia College. Oh, Eva Irene, you have to finish. You have to finish there. I'm so unhappy, Mama. Please, Eva Irene. So being the pleaser that I am, like all Southern women, I went back my sophomore year. And I was even more unhappy. And I came home and I said, I don't want to go back. Oh, Eva Irene, please. The end of my junior year, I came home and I said, I'm not going back for my senior year. And my mother was like, Eva Irene, you have to. I said, no, ma'am. I guess this is when I first became my own person. And I said, no, if I have to go back there, I'm dropping out. I am miserably unhappy. I said, I just don't fit in. Oh, we won't even get into all of that. So I went to Francis Marion and changed my major to early childhood education. That's when I met my husband. That would have been in 1984, and we married in 1987. My greatest source of support that I'd have to say that I've had in my entire life would be my husband, Scott O'Brien. We just started dating and we married, and he supported me all through college, and then we married, and his mother was ill on a respirator, did not get to come to our wedding. And so we left the wedding and went to the hospital, in the wedding gown and the tux and all of that. And we were living in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We were there for, and she died 6 months to the day after we were married. And so that was, the marriage was, the wedding was pretty stressful, not knowing. Then we were married, we were newlyweds, we lost his mother, we moved back to Florence and lived in the family home. And then while we were there, Will was born. And then when he was 2, we left Florence and came to Columbia, and I was pregnant with Ann Scott. And while we were here, we found out that Will has dyslexia. Actually, he has dysgraphia and dyscalculia, but they fall under the dyslexia umbrella. At that time, nobody would give me a definitive diagnosis. So I told my husband, Scott, I'm going back to graduate school. I'm going to find out what's going on. So there comes my competitive nature. If you're not going to tell me, I'll figure it out on my own. So I went back to graduate school, figured that a reading specialist would be an excellent way to do research on learning disabilities that would fall under that. And so I went back to graduate school, and Scott supported me the entire time. I was in graduate school working full-time as a shadow with a young man who was autistic. I graduated from graduate school, diagnosed my son Will. I guess suggestions that I would give young people would be, 1, be the person that you needed for someone else in your life. You always have something positive to say, because you never know what battle somebody's fighting, and we're all fighting battles every day. We're all bearing crosses that no one knows except us. And I love Gandhi's saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. If you want something to change, then or if you want to bring an awareness, then that's something that you have to do. But in order to be successful, it requires sacrifice. And so if you want to be successful, you're going to have to decide, make yourself a roadmap. How you're going to get there. You're going to know that, like just going through a parking lot, there are going to be bumps in the parking lot. So you're going to have bumps. How are you going to get over the bumps? Randy Pausch says that he feels like brick walls are put up to see how badly we want something. If you want it badly enough, you will figure it out. Now, it could take you 6 months, it could take you a year, but if it's something that you want, you'll figure it out and you'll see that come to fruition. Because look at the other aspects of your life, okay? Develop a support group. Sometimes it's difficult for children, especially children that come from broken homes. A lot of them are pulled back and forth, used as pawns, and they feel that even in their adult lives. If you are lacking a support group, find a faculty member on campus or find a staff member on campus that will support you. Find somebody in your life that you can find somewhere, maybe a church, A lot of people don't like church for whatever reason. That's fine. But for some people, it's a safe haven. So you have to find that support. If it's not your family, you have to find it at school. You have to find it at church. Maybe it's an aunt or uncle. Maybe it's somebody's parent. And then I tell my students, school is the only place where you have to be good at every single thing you do. When you get out in the world, you're going to find your strengths and you're going to hopefully aspire to change the world or make a difference in the world or make a difference for someone through your strengths. And so just instead of focusing on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. When you're down, think about everything that you have that's going for you, that's not going against you.